All right, guys, Zaxter99 here, and what we're looking at here, guys, is my recently created Steam store page for my upcoming game called Dicey. Now, Dicey is not anything new to my family and I. It is kind of my own version of classic Yahtzee. And guys, this game goes way back to 2012 for me. It's one of the first games that I ever created on the PC back in 2012. And I wanted, to create a game that both I thought my dad would like, who my dad is not a gamer, but also for my son when he was little. At the time he was only like 6 years old. And I wanted to create something besides all the Call of Duty and shoot 'em up type games that he wanted to play. So I decided to challenge myself back then in an old programming language called Dark Basic Pro. Now, Dark Basic was a kind of a coding language that was probably most similar to me because of my days way back in the Commodore 64. The Commodore 64 had the basic programming language, and it was something I knew a little bit about. And if we look at this game, guys, as we see here, some of the screenshots here, you see that I've created my own scoring tablet. I started off with chance, just like Yahtzee has, but I've since changed that. So I definitely need to update some of these images. Now, all these dice that you're looking at, guys, are created by yours truly. I came up and created all these different dice colors and all these different dice that you're seeing in the game with a lot of work. The stuff is not easy. And this is what I'm talking about, guys, when I'm making indie game reviews and everything like that. If you're an indie game dev, it's about putting some care and some thought and some fucking work into your games. It's not about just going on the marketplace and the Unreal Engine or on Unity and cobbling together a whole bunch of assets that are probably going to be incohesive, made by different developers, and you throw them all on a map, and you do drop down menus and change the speed and the health and everything like that of these different assets, and then hit and export and calling it done. If you give a damn about your game, you're going to have to learn how to code. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible to make a game without learning the raw fundamentals of coding your game. But if you want to do specific little things in your game, you're going to have to learn a coding language, whether it be C Sharp with Unity, whether it be C++ with the Unreal Engine, whether it be learning Java or learning GML if you use the Game Maker. You gotta learn how to code. Even though Game Maker advertises itself as a drag and drop feature, no code required or whatever, I call bullshit. If you really want to make a game that's going to have guts, it's going to have a backbone behind it, and that's going to be something more than just basic implementations, you're going to have to learn how to code in whatever engine you decide to go with. So, the best advice I can give any indie developer is learn coding language, and probably the best language to learn right off the bat is I would go with C++. If you learn C++, you're definitely going to be adapt that code to any language. You can go over to Unity, you can go into Godot or whatever, and C++ is going to be a very versatile language that you could adapt from to pretty much any engine you ever want to use. So learning code is like a fundamental if you want to make games. And then another thing, guys, this is going to be my 14th game that I launch. Now, if you look here, guys, on this website here, we see Zaxter Games. We see I have 13 published games, 5 more in development. And some of these games that are in development are games that I paid for on Steam that I planned on launching years ago. But for whatever reason, I hit like a writer's block almost, and I didn't know where to go with it. It's a game that I decided I would not launch because I didn't believe the game was finished enough or fun enough to launch and be asking money for. And that is something so much different than so many indie developers on Steam today who just cobble together a bunch of assets in a week or two or a month or two, don't learn anything about coding, and then just launch it on Steam as is with usually some bullshit screenshots. And they try to, they don't try to show like the true animations in the gameplay. They try to hide all this crap in their little trailer, and they don't even make a game that they themselves want to play themselves. And that's the biggest thing I've said time and time again, guys. If you're creating a game, you need to create a game that you're going to enjoy playing yourself. Because if you're not going to enjoy it, how the hell are you going to launch it on Steam and expect people to pay you money for it when it's a game that you yourself don't even enjoy playing? I mean, come on. But if we look at these numbers here, guys, we see some of my most successful games. And these numbers are pretty close. Some of them are more than what I've actually made. Poggers, I've made a little bit more than that on Poggers. Nerm the Worm, I haven't made quite that much. The Best BJ is about right. Prison Ball is about right. The Laser Ball is about right. So a lot of these games are showing pretty accurate numbers for how much money I've made. And I can tell you guys that it's not about the money when I make these games. I want to put out fun gaming experiences for the people that do buy my game. I'm really trying to make games that I enjoy creating myself. So as you guys can see here, Dicey is a game that I'm still working on. Lifesaver is a game I've been working on in the past couple of months, but I ended up putting that on the back burner for right now because I really wanted to get this Dicey game out because I only have one casual game, guys, right now, the Best BJ, which is a blackjack simulation that I created. And I created that one because I didn't feel like there was really any good blackjack games on Steam that didn't ask for microtransactions to get more chips and that also were affordable. And my problem with a lot of the blackjack games on Steam is that they didn't offer, features that you would expect if you went into an actual casino, like doubling down or splitting your hand or, surrendering, stuff like that. And I wanted to create a game that would do that and that would just be a fun single player casual experience. And that's what I created with the Best BJ. Well, the Best BJ was my 7th game to come out on Steam, right? Well, all the rest of my games are pretty much action retro arcade type games. Well, this is going to be my 14th game, and I kind of wanted that to be another casual game. And I've been wanting to recreate Dicey for a long time since I, started making games on Steam, looking back at my old Dicey. So, guys, nobody's probably liked my original Dicey game more than my father. My father has probably put in thousands of hours into my old Dicey game, and he loved it. Let me show you that game here, guys, real quick. Alright guys, so I just want to go ahead and show you what I created back in 2012 with this game and all my just basic, dark basic languaging, that I wrote out. So when you make this, or when you launch this game, you can see it launches in like a full window, or not a full window, but you can see it launches in a window that's the size of the old school monitors, because that's what I had back in 2012.
Dicey!
Like widescreen monitors were very expensive back then. And so me and my family, all we had was basic computers with the traditional, I think, 1028 by 768 monitors or whatever. And you can see this is high scores, but this is just local high scores on my computer. Most of them are me or whatever. And then you had a choice of either play with your computer or play by myself. And I can tell you the biggest challenge in this game was making code and teaching the computer how to play a simple game like Yahtzee.
I want to play with myself.
So I recorded all the sounds and stuff like that, and then you can put in your name, and please enter your name, and then you'll enter that. And it'll tell you good luck. And if you play with a computer, you'll basically do dice rolls to see who goes first, that kind of thing. But as you can see, if you look here, guys, look at my scorecard with just text and lines that I drew out on the screen or that I programmed to. Like, you didn't have, like I said, you didn't have a editor like most game makers have nowadays. Everything was done by code. So I would draw the text out and I would do like a line command to draw a line from certain pixel to another pixel or whatever. And of course set the colors as well. So this was your scoring chart. You have chance, you have dicey, large straight, small straight, etc. And then your top section, which of course had the bonus as well. My dice was simply rolling a dice and very simple graphics that I drew out for the dice. Like I drew these out myself, and Each one had 6 sides, and you would keep whichever one you wanted, like that. Held was simulated by a held with a border around the dice. And then you would roll dice again. It would tell you roll number 2. And you would be like, damn, I want a 6, I want a third 6, and I didn't get one. So I'll be like, okay, where am I going to put this? So it says you must choose where to score it now. So you'll go ahead and choose chance or whatever, and then accept. And then if you don't want to do that, you could, back out of it or whatever. But it would keep your score up here, your grand total down here, and it would keep a score as you played it. Very simple game, but again, my father played this game for probably at least hundreds of hours, but I believe he probably put thousands of hours in this game. And I say that because every time I'd go over to his house to visit, he'd be playing Dicey on his computer. And yeah, he loved this game. So I've been kind of wanting to recreate this on Steam for many years, and I finally went ahead and started doing that in the last couple of weeks. So this is going to be my 14th game here on Steam, guys, and I think you can see that I've really, challenged myself to make it quite a bit better. Now, one thing I'd like to show you guys here is that if I come into my editor, and I decided to go ahead and create Quad Dicey, which is kind of my version of Triple Dicey. And you can see here that I've drawn out, like, before I had this on just like a sheet of paper where I drew out, like, what kind of scores you have to get to earn money. So you're going to be able to earn money in my game, and then with the money you can buy some of those different colored dice that I created, and, that's kind of your reward or incentive to keep grinding. So you can get those cool new dice that you want to get or whatever. So this is just like the editor, like I show. So I made up and spent all the time making up this scorecard and the standard scorecard for standard dicey, if you would. You can see I've made some changes to my game though. Instead of chance, I actually call this lucky ones. So it's just like chance where you can put any dice rolls down here that you want, any dicey, you can't put anywhere else. But the difference is that the ones are worth 7 points instead of just being worth 1 point. Every other dice is worth its own value. 2 is worth 2, 3 is worth 3 points, 4 is worth 4 points, etc. However, ones are the most valuable dice on this section, but only this section here, as they're worth 7 points apiece. So in Quad Dicey, it just works like this. You try to get all these different combinations of dice, just like standard Dicey, which is worth, 1 times multiplier. But you also have the 2, 3, and 4 times multipliers here in different colors. And when you roll your dice, you take 3 turns and you put them into one of these sections, but you can put them anywhere you want. And I allow you to freely move your mouse around and see kind of how much each, that whatever you've rolled would be worth in this section. So you can move around, you'll see the numbers pop in, and then you just click where you want to put it and then confirm it. And that's kind of how that works. And this Quad Dicey keeps a grand total of, where you're at the whole time right here. And you can see that it's going to be pretty common to get around 2,500 points in this Quad Dicey, as I call it. But if I come in here, guys, one thing I wanted to do is I want to change things up with, my game. Instead of just playing standard old Dicey, I wanted to make it so you can earn money by playing the games. Money you can spend on things like new dice and that kind of thing. And I also want your total money to be shown on the high score list when you go to the high score screen. But one thing I wanted to go ahead and show you guys is I made a little marker here for the scoring pad. And here's some of the money that you can see. So I got this money. So if you come in here, oops. Do I get money? I do. There we go. So here's kind of the money that you can earn. And these are randomly, or I can control them as well if it's a 1, 5, 10, 20, 50, or whatever. And so I can put this money anywhere you want. I have money, I have plans to show money, flying all over the screen and stuff like that as you earn it. But I made this, I called it here's my money, an event box, right? So you have an event box. So what's going to happen with this event box is this event box is going to highlight one of these particular boxes, right? So one of these boxes is going to be chosen randomly at the start of a turn. And you might have this happen 2, 3, 4 times every game. And one of these boxes will be chosen randomly, one that you haven't filled in yet, okay? and it's going to highlight one of the empty ones for free at the beginning of your turn, and it might say, hey, like if it chooses this one, it might say, hey, get 3 4s in the double, multiplier 4 section, and if you get 3 4s or gets however many points, then you're going to earn an extra $5 or $10 in virtual money, of course, right? And how that's going to take place is there's going to be an event arrow. So you're not going to see this notepad here. It's going to be wide open for you rolling your dice and stuff like that. But the event arrow is going to come up at the start of a turn, and it's going to slide over here. It's going to show you what box you're going for. So it'll go and point right at the box. And in this case, it'll go right towards this point at this box. And then it'll tell you, like over here, what you're trying to get. So that's kind of the way I've implemented that. So if I put this in here, I'll show you guys kind of how that works. So this is what I'm talking about, guys. You have this level of control when you're using code that you wouldn't have by just dragging things into the screen. If you don't have any code behind those objects you're dragging to the screen, you're going to have to learn code to do all these really custom things that you might want to do in your game, rather than just really basic movements and that kind of thing. But anyway, guys, if we go ahead, all right, now I have this set up so I can just hit the F12 key and move this around randomly. So as you can see, I don't have the bottom ones done, but when it chooses the top one, it'll come in here and it'll say score 3 points or more in the 1 section, right? And then I have it so that if, let's say, we get 4 points in the 1 section, right? Then it's going to kind of make that sound there and show money thrown out, and it's going to say you've won $10 or whatever, whatever the award is for getting that section. And then the next time you might get this, and it'll say hit 3 of a kind, and if you get that on that particular turn, then you're going to win some money. So this is just one of the many ways that I plan on making Yahtzee a unique game. I'm still working on it. Plan on launching the game March 15th. I've only been working on this game about a week right now, but some of my days, like off days, have been filled. Like, for example, yesterday, I was working on this game for more than 12 hours. So I had an off day yesterday and spent over 12 hours working on Dicey. So I just want to tell you guys, if you're an indie developer, if you're thinking about becoming an indie developer or whatever, or maybe you're playing around with the engine, you get the Unreal Engine out and you're like, wow, and you get some of the free assets and you're like, wow, this is pretty powerful. Look how cool this is or whatever. Maybe you've taken a tutorial or a Udemy course or whatever. Those can actually make your imagination spark and you're like, wow. The best advice I can give you guys to any new indie developers is keep your games simple. I know that it's really easy to try to get over ambitious and be like, okay, well, I'm going to make the next 3D zombie shooter. I'm going to make the next zombie survival game. I'm going to make an MMO where it's like Call of Duty and there's going to be thousands of players on my servers. And it's going to be like a combination of Rust and Dead by Daylight and Call of Duty all in one. It's really easy for you to get overly ambitious and come up with an idea that's simply not going to be possible for your level of experience and your level of ability as a new indie game developer. So my advice to all indie developers out there is A, try to make a game that you're going to enjoy playing yourself. B, learn how to code. You're going to have to learn how to code to make good working games that are going to be able to do exactly what you want them to do. Assets are not going to be able to do everything for you. Yes, assets are fine to use in your game. They're going to help your game look better, especially if you're doing like a 3D game. I have no problem with using assets, but you're going to have to learn how to use code to have those assets do exactly what you want instead of just plunking them on an empty map and changing a few, drop-down menu options. So that is my advice, guys. Keep it simple. Do a game that you can actually finish in, a month, especially as your first game or whatever. Do something simple that you can finish in 1 to 3 months for your first game. Do something that's simpler. Don't try to make an MMO. Don't try to make some big survival game your first game. Keep it simple. Do something like, this is my 14th game, guys, and I'm making a Yahtzee game for F's sake, right? And keep it simple. Learn how to code. Pick one engine to use. Don't be trying to use Unity and Unreal and Godot and experimenting with 5 or 6 different engines. Pick one engine and stick with it, right? Until you get a lot of fundamentals under your feet and a good experience with game making under your feet. And then if you want to change, you can. But I would definitely learn one engine, stick with it until you've created at least a handful of games. But keep the game simple, make something fun that you want to play with, learn how to code, and then keep it fun. That's another tip, guys. Keep it fun. Make sure that you're enjoying doing what you're doing. Make sure you're making a game that you're going to enjoy playing yourself. Don't make this a second job. If you're not enjoying creating games, how are you going to possibly make a game that's going to be enjoyable? Just like if somebody was writing music or playing music and they hated playing guitar and they hated singing, how can you possibly expect anything that you sing or play to be something that somebody wants to listen to? People listen to music because they want to hear that heartfelt music and songs made by somebody who's passionate about what they're doing. It's no different with making games, guys. Make sure you're a passionate gamer. Make sure you're making a game that you want to play yourself, but also something that you enjoy playing as well. But to start with, keep these games simple. Don't be trying to make MMOs or 3D survival games or anything like that until you've got a good working knowledge and the fundamentals under your belt, and you've developed a few of the simpler games. And then challenge yourself to do a little bit more each and every time. So this is just my 14th game, guys. An idea of where I'm at right now. Still got a lot of work to do with Dicey to launch it when I want to launch it. But again, I have quite a bit of experience with launching games in a time frame that I want to launch them in. So I've been down this path before. So if you have any questions, if you're an aspiring indie developer, if maybe you're just watching this because you love games, definitely comment down below, guys. Let me know if you have any questions, what you think about game development, what engine you're choosing, whatever it might be. Be sure and put all that stuff down in the comments below. I do try to read all my comments on all my videos, but this is just kind of I don't know if you'd call this a game dev log or anything like that, but it's just kind of an update on what I'm doing and why I haven't been putting out so many missed videos lately. I'm actually trying to produce something. So this has been Zaxter99, otherwise known as Zaxter Games on Steam. We'll see you guys out there. Have a great week, everybody. Take care.